Welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti. My guest this evening is Scott Schoonmaker, who's the principal for the town of North Branford. Scott.
Pete, nice
Hi,
to
buddy.
see you.
How are you?
I'm glad we could finally do this.
I know. Me too. Me too. We've run into each other all over town and
At very upscale places, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks.
exactly. You never know where
Great
we're going to
minds
shoot.
meet.
You never know where we're going to show up. So, Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Well, I'm going to start. I'm a superintendent in North Branford.
Okay.
And I've been the superintendent there for 15 years.
All right.
I'm entering my 16th year. And prior to this position, I was in Old Saybrook as the high school principal.
That's right.
For a number of years. I think I was there 14 years.
Wow.
And I taught in Old Saybrook for 5 years. And prior to my public school teaching, I taught both in the Catholic school system and in the state system at an all-boys residential school in Deep River, Mount St. John. So
Okay.
I was there for 2 years, and I was in the Catholic school for a year. So I've had a broad background of educational experiences, both in the private sector and the public sector. So I think that's helped in my role as superintendent.
Exactly.
Doing less with more.
Yes. And I'm sure there's a difference between teaching in the private sector
Yes.
and the public sector. What is
Yes.
that difference?
Well, financial aid, I was kidding before about doing less with more, but it's doing what you can with limited resources. And, in a lot of the private schools, we're self-funded, you're tuition-based. Now, especially with the times as tough as they are, there's been, cutbacks. And in public education, we rely on the state and the federal government to offset our costs, and we're able to offer a variety of experiences that unfortunately some of the private schools can't run because of resources, just the funding.
Now let's talk about the cost of education and how it affects the school system.
Yeah, it's something that we battle every year. When you look at, dependent upon, they call it the DERG, your educational reference group, and it's your ability to contribute in your town. It's a formula that the state uses, and that determines how much money you get per student.
Right.
So we're in the middle in North Branford of the DERGs, and we rely heavily on the tax base.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so people in town, in a town like North Branford, we do not have a busy industry like Old Saybrook.
Okay.
You look at Route 1 in Old Saybrook, there's box stores, there's many restaurants, manufacturing, there's businesses that really offset, and that's why in Saybrook, your taxes are really low.
Right.
As a resident of Old Saybrook, I really respect what Carl Fortuna has done in running the town, in managing the town, and bringing so many opportunities, but keeping our taxes at a very, very fair and reasonable number. In North Branford, we don't have the Route 1. We have Route 80.
Right.
Route 80 in North Branford never developed like Route 1. When you hit North Haven, it explodes.
Right.
East Haven, it explodes. But in North Branford, we just don't have the infrastructure. So as a result of that, funding education is a big burden for the taxpayer. And people, they don't truly understand the funding formula. When you look at enrollments around the state of Connecticut are going down.
Right.
It's a simple formula. People are having less children. The cost to raise children is greater. So the burden of the cost has to be shared by the taxpayer.
Right.
So we run state-of-the-art buildings. We have to heat and cool them. We have to feed the children. We have to provide nursing. We have to provide, obviously, the education and the counseling services. So it's really, it's a situation where you have everything under one roof, and you've got to fund this. Okay. And that's where the challenge comes in. And we battle with it. Everyone in the state is battling this right now.
Oh, yeah.
And that's probably the biggest challenge right now is the funding for education.
Right. Now, as far as your budget goes for North Branford, what's your budget look like?
So if you look comparatively, we're just under 2,000 students, and our budget is around $34 million.
Okay.
So we have over 300 employees, but when you start comparing it to like your municipalities, the police department may have 20 officers. so we're the biggest show in town. We draw the most attention because we're the biggest cost. So when we go, the party line, oh, they get the Board of Ed, here they're back, they want all this money. But it's an easy criticism because many people don't understand what it costs. You think of just running your home.
Right.
And I don't know if you looked at your Eversource bill last month, but
oh, yeah.
Mine almost doubled.
Yes.
And, granted the air conditioning was on round the clock, but, there's other factors as well that played into that, and we're no different. So we burn thousands and thousands of gallons of diesel to run our buses.
Okay.
We burn thousands and thousands of gallons of oil to heat our schools.
Right.
And then when we cool them in the summer. So it's no different than running your home, only we're much larger.
Yes.
And with all of that, it all plays into education being very expensive. Very expensive.
Now, how many schools do you run as superintendent in North Branford?
So we have 4 schools.
Okay.
We have a full pre-K program now, which we just got started this past year. So we run the little ones from 3 to 4 years old up through 22 years of age.
Oh, wow.
So we have identified students who are special education services that will outplace after their 18th year and be with us for another 4 years.
Wow.
And we have an off-site home that we purchased or leased from the town actually and renovated. And so we'll have some students up till 22 years of age. So we break them down. I have pre-K 3, and then I have a 3, 4, 5, and then I have a 6, 8, and a 9, 12 traditional high school. Cool. So 4 buildings. It's a very manageable number, but it's like anything else. You have the same challenges that the big cities have.
Right.
It's the world we live in now. It's the trickle down. It's things that we turn on the news. You watch the news, depending on what channel you watch. But we're in a crisis. We're in a crisis, and a lot of it falls in the lap of public education. And I mentioned before about what we provide, and we have to wear many hats. We have to be counselors. We have to be psychiatrists, psychologists. We have to feed the children. We obviously have to educate the children, provide a lot of the healthcare services. So it's a total wraparound, for 1,700 kids in North Branford.
Wow.
So it's never dull.
No, of course not.
Never dull.
And I'm sure you're one of those superintendents who actually get out and go visit the schools. You're probably not one that sits in your office all day.
No, I think I was telling you earlier, I'm not the guy that sits at central office. I really enjoy being around the kids, whether it's at sporting events or plays or musical concerts or whatever, just to get out and see them in their element when they're shining, when they're doing what they're passionate about, and then getting into the buildings and having a pulse of what's going on. It's critical, for me to make the decisions that I have to make with my administrative team. I have to be on the ground in the building. I eat lunch every day in one of the schools and try to get in at least all of the schools once every 2 to 3 days.
Oh, wow.
Just to be visible. And that's by my choice.
Right.
Everyone has a different leadership style. I prefer to be around the kids.
Now, do you ever pop in a class and sit in a
Absolutely.
class?
And I always try to make it so it's not stressful on the teacher. The superintendent's here. Oh no, what did I do? And I think the more frequently that you're able to do that and you lessen those feelings that we're here to get better. I'm here to see your practice, to compliment you on this trait of what we're doing and what we're charged with doing. And that helps because I have to be the one ultimately that makes decisions.
Right.
For if we're doing what we should be doing and everyone's following, and when we, put them in the classroom and close the door, are they following the playbook?
Right.
And giving them the autonomy to do that. I mean, that's the beauty of live teaching. As you know, we shut down during COVID,
right.
And we were really blessed in North Branford that we had a mandated closing on March that year.
Yep.
And all the kids went home, and that was so tough on every student at every level. And I don't care if you were in elementary, middle, high school, or college, what that did,
yeah.
and will continue to do for several years. I don't think we've seen the fallout from that yet. I think it's still years to come. But We went right back at the start of the school year. We gave the families the option. If you wanted to return to school 5 days a week, we would be there. We opened our buildings, and obviously with the mask mandates and everything, but we, you know, we had the spacing, we had everything taped off, we computerized all of our seating charts, our bus charts. We knew where kids were all the time, so that if we did have a positive case, we could easily track.
You could point it.
Everyone around them. So, you know, I'm getting back to, you know, our ability to do that, and you know, some of the other things that we've done have been beneficial to North Branford.
Right.
And it was, you know, listen, everyone went into that blind.
Yeah,
we didn't know what we were dealing with. You know, the media, everything, yeah, the masks work, the masks don't work. Get the vaccine, don't get the vaccine. Everything was, you know, up in the air. And then it got politicized. And as you know, everything gets politicized.
Of course it does.
And then it trickles down, and then we have to kind of sift through and deal with all of it and make those decisions.
What's right and what's wrong.
What's right, what's wrong. It's no different than a snow day. You know, 50% of the people want to keep their kids home. The other 50% need daycare, and they want to get them to school.
Exactly.
And we don't get thank yous when, you know, we get it right. Or we get plenty of criticism when we get it wrong. But when we get it right, we're not getting pats on the back.
Of course you do.
That's what you sign up for.
Yeah, no, and it sounds, remote learning was probably a very difficult thing.
It was. It didn't work. You know, and I'm glad you cued me back to what we were talking about. The value. That's all right. That's what this is about. But the value of the classroom and the teacher in the classroom.
Right.
And it's not being the sage on the stage, but the guide on the side, and being there to form relationships with kids and push them and challenge them and pat them on the back and twist their ear when they need a little, you know, redirection. That's important. And that's something you can't replicate through a computer. I think we learned a great deal about, the computer is a tool.
Right.
It will assist us, but it's not the wherewithal. It's not something that I ever want to rely on. And as you see, the state of Connecticut is looking at passing statute now, Governor Lamont, on the cell phones in the buildings and banning them.
I saw that on the news last night.
So, you know, we've had policies in place, but it's like anything else. You know, are they being followed?
Right.
So, you know, Mrs. Jones may close her door and kids are on the phone, where Mr. Smith is giving detentions and saying, you know, no, it's our. So I think if there's more teeth in that with the support for us, because they're a detriment to learning, they're a detriment to our society. They really are. And, and the cell phone is something that it can be a great tool, and it can help you with a lot of things, but boy, it can create a lot of chaos in the world and in young, you know, adults.
Yeah.
The elderly, everyone that you know, becomes fixated on their phone. If you want to see someone react, take their phone.
Exactly.
Or if they lose their phone.
Right.
It's an emotional outburst that you're like, wow, that's worse than anything that, you know, you could, you know, you can't do this today, you can't do that today, you can't go, take their phone.
Right.
Yeah, it's alarming.
Now, do you guys have a phone policy?
We
at
do.
School? What is it?
So, we're flexible in that we let everyone know, and all the parents know prior to the start of every school year, these are the expectations and these are the consequences if you do. We built these fancy trays for them to go into in every classroom.
Okay.
We allow them in their study hall or in the cafeteria for lunch to access and use their phones.
Okay.
Or passing periods. We have 4-minute passing periods. But other than that, when you're in an academic classroom or an elective classroom, those phones are away.
They're locked up.
They're out of sight, out of mind. And if you do get caught, and kids do, kids are kids, we know that.
Right.
You know, it's either a Saturday detention or a lunch detention, or they have to walk down and physically put their phone in the main office in a locked cabinet.
Box.
Yeah, that they put it in. And then we give it to them at the end of the day, and they have a consequence. And it's been good. You know, we had T-shirts with the cell phone with the circle around it, crossing it out, and all the teachers were wearing it like, you know, we're here for the same mission.
Exactly.
To learn, and we need your attention. We need you at your best. And phones are a distraction. I know personally for me.
Oh yeah.
You know, and everything that science tells you, don't put your phone next to your headboard. Leave it downstairs. We don't do that. You know, when that thing dings, the first thing you do is you grab your phone to say, oh my gosh, what? And it's a sales thing, or it's something nonsense. It's, you know, but you have to look at that phone.
Absolutely.
So, anyway.
So you and I were talking about the high school and dealing with the kids, and you and I were talking off camera about your sports programs and how good they are.
They are.
Let's.
I think I have the luxury of having played sports in high school and then in college
Yeah.
and then professionally. And
That's right.
I know as a young adolescent what sports did for me. And it gave me such confidence and discipline that it got me through a lot in my life. And playing basketball in college and then playing professionally, I think I have a strong understanding. And then I was a high school coach at St. Bernard's High School in
yeah?
Uncasville, so I was a varsity basketball coach.
Oh, wow.
I was playing basketball overseas in South America after college, my very first job playing professionally, and I got injured. I came back, and I got a phone call from the athletic director saying, "Hey, I know you're back from Brazil, and you've been injured. Do you want to come over and coach here?" And I jumped on the opportunity. I ended up coaching basketball there for 8 years. And the connections I made with the student athletes and the relationships that I built, I still remain very close with many of my players.
Oh, yeah?
And I've hired a few of them as teachers, and it really was eye-opening to me, the value of what coaching and being around, and that led me into education. But our sports programs, we're a community, we're a working class community. The parents are passionate about athletics. They want their kids to be successful, and that's a balance as well. I mean, like I say with everything, you have to stay in the middle,
right?
Because you can have parents that don't get involved and don't go, and then you have parents that want to go and coach the game when they're in the stands. So you find that sweet spot in the middle. And we do really well. Our girls' sports are off the charts. We've won. Now we're at 8 softball shoreline championships in a row.
Oh, wow.
8 in a row.
Wow.
And field hockey for girls, we've won 3 state championships in the last 5 years.
Wow.
And we have a legendary national coach of the year, Babby Noon.
Yeah.
Who is, and I've been in this for 30 plus years, having coached, having been an administrator and teacher. I've never met anyone like Babby Noon. Just her, everything about her personality, her style, her connectivity with the kids. She's a legend, and the people are blessed in North Branford to have her. And so, and our other teams do well. We support them. We emphasize, the importance of team play and of being on a team and the discipline that goes along with it, what it takes to be a good teammate. Our athletic director, Lori Conley, does a great job of really orchestrating all of it. So it's a good place to be. I love going to events. I love going to the games. There's nothing better than, Friday night. I don't care if it's girls soccer, girls lacrosse, boys basketball, football. There's nothing like
hanging out in the
watching
stands.
the kids, and the school morale. And as your teams go, your school goes. The kids love that, and it's fun.
And you never know if you're doing a football game. You never know, DeMeo might show up.
Yeah, the great one.
Oh,
the great one. Yeah, and
let's talk about him.
Yeah, well, legend. They don't. That's a broken mold. It really is. They don't make people like that anymore. And they say the greatest generation ever, and he's from that generation.
Oh,
They don't lose it. They don't lose their passion and their connectivity with the kids. And
he's great.
so we're when he comes, we're so fortunate, to have him at the games.
Oh, he's a great guy.
And everyone gets excited.
Oh, yeah.
They love it. I know. It's those are the types of things that you want to pass down to generations.
Absolutely.
So
we're gonna stay with sports because there's 2 things I want to make before we move on.
sure.
First off, let's talk about your son. You have a son who's
I have 3.
Okay, you have 3, but I'm thinking of one off the top of my head who's playing professional football.
Okay, my oldest. He's a cowboy.
Yeah.
So it's been a journey. He grew up here in Old Saybrook and played multiple sports: baseball, football, basketball. And with your own children, you have rose-colored glasses, and you're always he's gonna. But there was something about the oldest one that gifted. He could pick anything up and do it, and he's my height. He's really big and strong and fast.
Yeah.
And I thought he was going to be a left-handed baseball player. He had a lot of college interest there. Basketball, he was a very good basketball player, at Hampden Hall. And then football, that became his passion. He loved everything about it. He was a left-handed quarterback, and then he converted to tight end. And the coach said his agent was his high school football coach, Joe Linta.
Okay.
So Joe Linta has 40-plus guys in the NFL right now. Luke is one of them. And he looked at Luke and watched him move and run and do things. He said, son, you can play quarterback for me, or I can split your time and put you at tight end, and you'll go anywhere you want to go and play. And he was right. We ended up at Michigan. And he played at Michigan and had a great, he did a fifth year because of COVID.
Right.
And had a great experience there and a lot of success in his last 2 years. And then he got drafted in the second round.
Right.
So he was the 56th pick in the NFL draft, which was exciting.
Yeah.
And so I mentioned I have 3 boys, and I also have my daughter. They all were passionate about sports. My second oldest played all 3 sports, went to St. Anselm's College in New Hampshire.
Okay.
And played football there, and then went into the Marine Corps. And he's a lieutenant now, and serving in the Marine Corps. And he said that in 8th grade, I'm going to be a Marine, Dad. And he did it. And just a real strong work ethic. And I have twin freshmen going into their freshman year of college. And my son will play football at Holy Cross in Worcester, Mass.
All right, sure.
He's there now. And my daughter is going to be a nursing student at Providence College.
Oh, there you go.
And she actually was a scholarship player at Elon University in North Carolina.
Okay.
And she decommitted to go to nursing school. She made the decision that I'm going to give up Division I sports and focus on my academics and do nursing. So I'm really proud of her as well. So knock on wood, my wife has done a great job, and the kids are doing what they're passionate about. And sports had a big part of all of their successes. Yeah. It really did.
What's your wife do?
She's a nurse.
Okay.
So they grew up in Boston, one of 10 children, and she's a triplet.
Wow.
And her mother was a nurse, and of the 10 kids, 7 went into the medical field. And
nice.
So it's an honorable profession, and boy, do we need it now.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone who's had anything with medical, the nurse is as valuable as the medical doctor or the physician's assistant or whoever else you have working with you.
My sister, my brother's wife, my sister-in-law, they're out in Minnesota. She's a pediatric oncology nurse
God bless her.
at Children's Hospital in Minneapolis.
That has to be
so I've
heart-wrenching.
Heard stories from her over the years. It's like, oh my God.
How do you do it?
God, I'm like, how do
They're
you
angels.
do this?
They are, those people.
She's like,
yeah.
You never know what you're walking into.
No, and not every ending is a good ending.
Yeah, no.
And it's
absolutely.
heartbreaking.
Absolutely not. Speaking of sports, I'm going to throw out a name which I didn't know, that before he was a radio broadcaster played professional baseball.
Yeah.
Who are we talking about?
It's got to be Lee Elsie.
It does have
to be. Got to be Lee. Yeah, Lee. We go way back.
Yeah.
I went to Ledyard High School.
Okay.
And Lee was at Waterford High School.
Right.
And we were in the Eastern Connecticut Conference, and Lee was a very good baseball player.
Yeah.
I was not a very good baseball player. I played first base, and I stopped playing baseball in high school. It was probably a good thing, and focused on basketball. But I got to know through that, and that was a different time too, where we competed against surrounding towns, but then we befriended them in the off season because we were always doing summer leagues, and we would cross over and play in the summer with all these surrounding towns. So my friendships were from, kids that I competed against, like Harold Presley, who played, in the NBA and played for Villanova on the national championship team. We became great friends, and I could go on and on with other kids, but Lee was from that Waterford dynasty, and the success they had in baseball, I never thought Lee would do what he's doing, and he's really good.
Oh yeah,
he's really good. And listen, people didn't think I'd become a superintendent, so never say never.
Exactly.
And there's a lot to be said for that, with grit and determination and a little luck, being blessed, a little timing, and and sticking to your game plan, and Lee's done that, and yeah, I enjoy listening to him.
Oh, he's a great guy.
He is, and he's. I like to think of him as a common sense guy. You know, I always say that if you're too far to the right or too far to the left, you're in the danger zone.
Exactly.
If you can meet in the middle, which he does,
you're good.
You're good, and you know, he doesn't agree with everything on his political party, and that's, I like that. That's healthy, because both parties have a lot to work on. I think that's. I don't think I need to get into that, but the disconnect, it's never been. I'm, you know, in my 61 years here on this planet, I haven't seen it like this.
No.
I mean, it's disappointing.
It is.
Very disappointing.
It is. Would you mind sticking around for another segment?
Sure.
All right, we'll be right back.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. How to safely build a fire, and how to control the flames. But I can only teach wildfire prevention. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Yo, camping buddy. Okay, you guys ready?
Dude, I thought you were driving.
I thought you were driving.
Oh, I never said I was driving.
I definitely can't drive.
If you're high, just don't drive. It's illegal everywhere. If you feel different, you drive different.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti, sitting here with North Branford Superintendent Scott Schoonmaker. Scott, welcome back.
Good to be back.
Thank you, my friend. All right, so we talked about all sorts of fun stuff in the first half. And now let's talk about another mutual friend that you and I have.
Okay. Now I'm at the edge of my seat here. Who's our other mutual friend?
Old Saybrook Italian Restaurant.
Oh, it's got to be the great one, Len DeBella.
It does have to be the great one. Tell us about Lenny.
So I met the DeBella family. I have to say the family because they're a beautiful family.
They are.
And
they're sort of like your wife with 19 kids.
Yes, and they're part of that DeBella Finnegan group where they have, you know, we love them. But anyway, our families do. But at St. John's School, we our kids were enrolled there. We moved to town. I had been working in Old Saybrook, and I would always go to Luigi's and get either a sausage or a meatball grinder before every board meeting.
Oh.
So I had my spots.
So you were superintendent?
I was principal.
You were principal
in Old Saybrook. Right. So we're going back many years.
That's
30 plus years ago.
I think that's how you and I met.
Probably there. That was my go-to. And more so than just the food being outstanding, the family, all the workers, who they hire, the Saybrook kids. God. Lenny's family, they're beautiful, and so that we started off 30 years ago, and then our kids were in school together, and I just was at a wedding, you know, that the Bellas were there, and it was wonderful, and so it was great to reconnect with a lot of the Saybrook people.
Was this the wedding Vinny was at?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Vinny was at our table. Another great one. Another icon.
Icon? That's a good word for him.
In Old Saybrook, but yeah, he had to sneak out to do a comedy show.
That's right.
night.
Yeah, he had to go. That's right.
I think he was down in Niantic for a comedy show. So, but yeah. So, and you know, his wife is an educator.
Yes, she is.
And the two
Where's
sons.
She teach? The middle school?
She's at the elementary school.
Okay.
She's been elementary, but her two sons went through the Saybrook schools and have done very well and value education. You know, we were talking before about challenges, and I mentioned the financial aspect of running schools and what goes into running successful schools, and then with special education and the cost of special education, and it's astronomical, but it's such an important piece of, you know, our community that we do that, and you want to put the best people in front of the classroom. And the challenge now is finding certified teachers.
Right.
There's 11 identified shortage areas in the state of Connecticut right now. And years ago, these shortage areas were always math, science, because people would go through 4 years of school, they could make more money than going into education
Right.
with a math background or, a science background. And it created a hole for us. But now we're seeing shortages in social studies, English, world language, special education. So this has created a panic.
Right.
Where, I'm fortunate right now. I'm opening school in 2 weeks and I'm fully staffed. I have all of my certified positions filled, my nurses, my custodians, my paraprofessionals, we're almost there. But, fewer people are going into education.
Right.
It's a challenge. It comes with a great deal of scrutiny from the public now. I think it's not fair with what we're asking our teachers to do, and it's a great profession. There's not a more honorable profession than teaching, and inspiring students to go on and be their best, be it a doctor, a lawyer, a mechanic, whatever they choose to do.
Right.
And being a part of that and having them recognize that you were instrumental in their successes. So, I look at one of our biggest challenges will be, and it's not the computer. The answer is not the computer. I fear that, we're going to get to a point where people are going to say, well, all you have to do is, like we were talking before about, co-oping with these teams. Well, we co-op with classes. We put a camera in Westbrook and it shoots to Old Saybrook and Clinton, and one teacher can teach 3 classrooms.
Right.
Similar to how we do football with those 3 schools. And that worries me. That would be a bad move in education. So we have to continue to be creative and value the teaching profession and what it does. It's so much more than just the ABCs.
Yeah.
But anyway, that not that I want to go off on a tangent.
Nah, it's fine.
If I'm not plugging teachers and education and the importance of
Exactly.
when you get a good teacher or a good coach that really connects and pushes your child, you can't put a price on it.
No. Now, as far as the teacher shortage goes, how detailed is it if you want to become a teacher to get your degree?
Well, they're softening, loosening some of the because of the shortage. If you have experience in other areas and you can go in, if you were an engineer, if you were a journalist or a writer, and you could go in and handle the curriculum in an English class or teach a math class with an engineering background, they're lessening the criteria to become a teacher.
Really?
They've had to. And that's worrisome too, because and listen, I much rather would have someone that's gone through a program of studies through accredited college in education in front of my child. But when you look at the alternative of, okay, you don't have a teacher, but we have someone with a knowledge base that can go in and deliver the curriculum for you, that's where we get caught. And we've got to have people in front of the classroom. So it's going to be interesting. I think the next 10 years it's hard to believe. I know you look around and there's certain professions, law enforcement,
right?
They're not going into it. There's been such scrutiny there as well, and the media seems to attract or get to a low incident thing, and then that's all they carry. So they broad brush stroke, like all law enforcement is bad because look at this incident and this is how this played out, and then it snowballs, right. And you've put law enforcement that a lot of people have left,
right.
Gotten out of it, and it's hard to recruit and find. We used to get hundreds of applicants for a job. If we get 10 now, we're lucky. Really? And it's the same thing with law enforcement. When they're looking for and recruiting, they're not getting the numbers. They're getting a lot of departmental transfers from town to town.
Right.
That guys retire in one and jump over and start over in another one, where you didn't have that in the past.
Exactly. Now, what's the difference between a teacher and a paraprofessional?
So the certification. So the
Okay.
teacher has to go through, a series of courses on philosophy and then content area, pass a test.
Okay.
They have to pass their praxis test to, to get certified. And the paraprofessional is required to have a degree. In some districts, they're not required to have a degree. And they'll come in and there's a test they can take to be a paraprofessional, and it's basic, but they're critical in the classroom. The paraprofessionals are, unfortunately, we're not able to pay them what we'd like to pay them. Many
Right.
districts, they don't give medical benefits. When you look at a family medical package now in education, it's like $30,000.
Okay.
So if a paraprofessional is making $15,000 a year and you're picking up their medical for 30, it doesn't add up. It's upside down. And towns can't afford it to do it. And and many people need the benefits. So we're strapped trying to find paraprofessionals. And they're another set of hands and eyes in the classroom for the teacher, and they're just a great help for every classroom.
So we're about to go into the new school year here in a couple of weeks in North Branford, right?
Ready, set, go. The
Ready,
28th,
set.
yes, of this month.
What are you looking for the school year? Goals, objectives?
I think we're always looking at, school climate, that we're constantly reinforcing being a good person, that, you're one that extends your hand to help someone and be a big brother or a big sister to someone who's, less fortunate or in need. So we're always working on that social emotional piece and trying to model those behaviors as a staff and as a community, and really provide a safe learning environment for our children. The world is crazy now. We have, I have armed guards in every building. We were the first to do it in Connecticut after Sandy Hook. And we, on short notice, we put together a security team of retired police officers.
Okay.
And we've been a model for several communities around the state of Connecticut. And I always say, if you have a better method or program, give it to me. And we haven't had a better suggestion to date since Sandy Hook.
It works.
It works. And the gentlemen and the women that we hire, they've had their career in law enforcement. They're well trained. They want to still give back. They're of an age where they still can give back.
Okay.
And they bring all that expertise. So we work hand in hand with our local police department. We train with our police department, and the community loves our security guards.
Oh yeah.
They love them. They because they're always visible. They go out for recess. We cover from 6 in the morning till 6 at night. So we're there for after school activities. We're there when all the kids come to school. It's been a very positive initiative in North Branford.
Wow.
Yeah. It's important.
Yeah, of course it is.
Probably the most important thing we do.
Yeah.
Safety.
Yeah.
Kids have to feel safe.
Oh, of course.
Staff has to feel safe.
Oh yeah.
It's critical.
Now, do they go through metal detectors or?
We don't have any metal detectors. No. There's larger school districts that do that. We don't. We know our students, the relationships that our faculty. We ask them to do a lot of different things to make sure that we're ahead of the curve on things like that. But
Right.
but we don't have metal detectors. I think you take that atmosphere of a school and it goes more towards, am I at the airport? Am I at a prison
Where am I?
entry? Like, we want our schools to be welcome and friendly, but we want to have enough security there that we know, God forbid, if there was a situation, we have experts there.
And your security team's pretty good at the high school.
Excellent. All my security officers, they love what they do. I've had some for 10 or 12 years that have been there.
Now, do they interact with the kids?
Every day.
Yeah.
They're in all of the cafeterias for lunch. Their entrance and exit when they come in, they roam the hallways. They're always checking security points that we have. I won't go into it now, but you have what they do in their daily routine. They're constantly interacting with kids, and the kids love them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not there to make an arrest. They can't make an arrest. They're not.
Oh, no?
They're not sworn officers. So if we have a situation that rises to that level, the police come in.
Yeah.
So they're not threatening, and the kids know they're there to protect them, and they really respect that. Like, these people are here to keep me safe. That's pretty powerful.
It is.
Very powerful.
It
So,
is.
It's a good thing.
It is. Now let's go back and talk about the teacher shortage and what,
Sure.
if you want to get involved and become a teacher, what you have to do. Obviously, there's a test.
there's an ARC program, which is the Alternative Route to Certification, ARC, and if you go on the State of Connecticut website, you can get more information on that. So if you're a career change person and you've been doing something in the trades or whatever, there is an avenue for you to fast track and get into teaching. And I mentioned the word trades. I am really pushing manufacturing. I am embarking on a goal of mine, a personal goal. After I finish our new high school, we're completing a $74 million brand new high school in October of this year.
Oh,
and
really?
it's gorgeous. It's state of the art. But what I'd like to do on the back part of our property is put up a 6,000 to 8,000 square foot manufacturing building. And we would move a lot of our programs that we currently have into this building. So we'd have welding, advanced welding, automotive. I have 2 bays for automotive. I'd move the 2 bays to this building. CNC machinery, with the welding, you'd learn to solder and be career ready, for kids who are hands-on learners. Our most popular courses are elective courses that are hands-on. Kids love to, our art classes and our tech ed classes, our engineering, the kids love to be with their hands. Our TV productions, advanced TV productions, and that's what we're really proud of for a small high school of 500 kids, that we can offer this much.
You guys have a small.
Small. We're not a large school, and so that's one of my goals, is to move into this building. Then what I do is repurpose it at night and have adults come back that want to learn a trade. You can go to Electric Boat, General Dynamics, and if you're an accomplished welder right now, you're in the door.
Oh yeah, you're making money left.
Great
and right.
benefits, and I'm at the point where I'm like, we can train these kids during the day.
Right.
They graduate. You don't have to go to college. We've pushed the college thing for too far, for too long, and unless you have to have a degree and go to a 4-year institution, you really should take a step back and look at other opportunities. These schools are $70,000 to $80,000 a year now, these colleges. Ooh. Times 4, you come out with a mortgage payment.
Yeah.
These kids are burdened with all of this debt. and the ones that you can go to a community college if you want, you can go to the state school, save a ton of money, or go into the trades, and you're gonna come out 0 debt, ahead of the game. And there's so many opportunities for it. We have to really, our country has to bring manufacturing back. We have to incentivize and get people involved with manufacturing, and we have to do a better job of bringing it into our schools so kids have choices, and it's not one-track college is the answer, because it's not.
No. Now, you said something that I didn't know about. You guys are building a new school?
We're in the second phase.
Tell us about it.
So this was something that, my 15 years I've been crying every year. We need a new high school. We were the laughing stock on the shoreline. The building was 60-something years old.
Okay.
It was clean, but it was a flat roof. There were leaks everywhere. Everything was outdated, the technology, and it got to a point where it was embarrassing. And we finally got to a point where our board got behind it. We convinced the town council, and we did it. And we hired an exceptional architect and a great building company, and we did the first phase on time. So we built a 3-story building. We designed it around, what I wanted was all your large areas in the same area, right, for security, but then for comfort for kids. Like the media center library is connected to the cafeteria.
Right.
So you can intermingle there. The guidance counselors are next to you in their suite. And then everything else in the second phase will be the gym, state-of-the-art weight room, my culinary, which is to die for, this culinary room we're putting up. And I want to rent out at night and have people come in and take cooking classes and do things. It's spectacular. So the kids are in for a real treat October 1st when they come back for phase 2. And they love it. It's just the whole morale changes, everything changes. And it's important. So.
looks like when you open this new building, I have to come down.
You have to come for a
I
tour.
have to
You're
come-
going to love our TV
I have to come
studio.
visit.
I want you to come with your employees too here.
My crew?
Take the crew and tour our studio.
Okay.
And we'll tour the high school. Lunch will be on me. I have a great chef there.
Yeah.
Out of New Haven, and we'll treat everything, and you tour it, and I'm guaranteed you'll walk out and say, "Wow, this is good stuff."
Yeah.
So, would love to have you.
And I was going to say, if you ever want me to come in and speak to your TV
Yeah.
productions class,
Absolutely,
let
we'd
me
love
know.
that. We'd love that.
There might be a fee involved, but
Listen, there's nothing's for free. Trust
no,
me.
of course, no, of
I
course
know
not.
that. I
Now,
know
tell us a little bit about the extracurricular activities, because you said you were going to move them all into one big building.
So the manufacturing building would be obviously more of the hands-on, but I'd have a technology piece to that too, coding and things that are wide open for kids right now to be able to get in your public school without having to go to a state technical school.
Right.
And so that you stay with your friends, you can play sports in your town, but you can get that alternative education that will set you up. And if you want to go to college, you go to college.
Right.
That's okay. It's choices.
Right.
But we have to do a better job of that. And you know, we have the engineering program through Project Lead the Way. I brought that to Saybrook when I was here, and
Right.
and I followed suit and brought it out to North Branford as well. And we had a greenhouse that we put up here. I had a greenhouse here. I guess you get certain things that you really believe in that you do, and that becomes part of your identity. And we've done that. But the arts, we have a wonderful elective program in the arts, and I'm passionate about music and getting kids exposed to, and we have music all the way down into our third grade. So we have music in K2, but third grade, fourth grade kids are picking up instruments. And we grow that into our middle school. And it just gets difficult at the high school because now you're competing with
Right.
courses.
Yeah.
And kids want to take, I want to take AP this, so we run a block schedule, so it's hard to fit everything in.
Yeah, everything in and
And but it brings so much to their education. I'm passionate about language and kids having the ability to take language. But a lot of things are getting pushed off the plate because of, mandates and things that, is being passed down to us. That's another challenge.
Yeah, no kidding.
So.
No kidding. And school is about to start here in a couple of weeks.
28th. So we're on Wednesday the 28th. We go for 3 days before the long weekend, which I like.
Yeah.
I do.
Of course.
You put your toe in the pool before you jump in.
Exactly.
And that allows us to have a 3-day week, then a 4-day week, and then we start with a 5-day week. By that point, we're into September. Your football season's starting. Everybody, sports are going, and you kind of acclimate and kick it off that way, which is nice.
Because you got football season starting,
Yeah.
both high school,
Yeah.
college, and pro.
And pro.
Oh,
I'll have 3 places to be on the weekend.
Oh.
That's that's why we have the cell phone. They can
I was
manage
just say,
everything.
how are you going to do this?
The cell phone manages everything for us, right? But we make it work.
Yeah.
So we will.
Now, as far as the football team goes at North Branford, how you looking this season?
We'll be competitive. We had a young team last year, and the new coaching staff, Anthony Savati, has done a great job. And it's all, football's in trouble right now everywhere for a number of reasons. We're having less participation. There's a lot of fear about, concussion protocols and, long-term effects of that. And I understand all of it. I have 3 boys who play football at a high level,
Yeah.
and I get it, but it's something that I believe in, and you just have to be ahead of everything, knowledgeable of everything. It's like when my son became a Marine.
Yeah.
He walks around with a lot of responsibility for protecting people
Exactly.
and places, and it's honorable. And I give those who choose to do that the utmost respect and admiration for them. So.
Now, how's your son, who plays for Dallas, doing, getting ready for the season?
Good, yeah. This first preseason was yesterday game, and he looked good. They were always coming off of injuries. He
Did
had
they
shoulder.
win?
They lost in the last 4 seconds of the game,
Who'd they lose
and that's
to?
okay. It was the Rams,
Oh,
and it was
right.
Bennett, the quarterback.
Oh, okay.
What's his name? Stetson Bennett, I guess.
I
Was
think
the,
so,
the
yeah.
Georgia quarterback that came. So, it's preseason.
Yeah.
You just want to stay healthy.
I was gonna say it's preseason.
Preseason, doesn't matter.
They don't count.
No. You just want to stay healthy.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
don't.
goal.
I don't count preseason football.
No. So, but he's good.
I'm sure. Pro football starts here probably in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, they have 3 preseason games this year, and then they start the season. So they've been talking a lot about expanding the number of games, and then you have the players' union who has to negotiate all of that. So it's a grind. I've gotten to meet his teammates on a couple of different occasions.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to survive in that league.
Yeah.
If you make it past your
Of course.
third year,
You're good.
You're in a minority of players that make it. A lot that don't make it 4 years. So he's got a goal. He's got it. I give him credit.
Right.
He wants to do well. He just doesn't want to be on the team. He wants to do well.
Yeah, I know. And I'm sure it's pretty grueling to
Yeah.
be on a professional football team. It's not.
Yeah. It's a car crash.
Yeah.
Every play.
Exactly.
It really is. And they're bigger, faster, stronger now. The equipment is better, and you have to be mentally, physically, spirit. Everything has to be in alignment because you can get hurt like that. So
what's Dallas Cowboy Stadium like? I've seen it on TV,
Yeah, no,
watching the game on Thanksgiving Day.
It's like a spaceship. It
Is
really
it?
is. I mean,
Is it?
the amount of glass in the building and the layout and the everything about it, the food, and Jerry Jones, he gets a lot of criticism, I understand, but boy, does he throw a party for his football games. It's amazing.
Yeah.
He'll fly over on his helicopter when you're parking your car, and they whisk him in, and then you'll see him come down after. There's an area that we go to, and it's kind of surreal. You're pinching yourself, like, am I really around this?
Am I really here?
Here, and then you meet the players, and you find out that they're just normal guys. Dak Prescott's just a beautiful person. He really is a great guy, and
Oh yeah.
and I look at social media and the criticism of him, and he walks around and he has thick skin, and I just admire him for that. Admire him, and he's a new father, and he's passionate about the right things.
Yeah.
And he's just a great person, and that's who I want my son around. I want my
Right.
son around people like that are going to model, good behaviors. And my son is very grounded anyway, so it's...
Oh, is he?
Yeah. He's very spiritual and very humble. So I do all the bragging about him. He doesn't say boo. You would never know he was a Dallas Cowboy.
Next time he's home, I want to meet him.
You got it.
Next time
we
he's
can
home,
do that.
I wanna,
Yeah, we can make that happen.
I think that would be.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we got a little bit more time left. So what else do we want to mention about the school year upcoming, or some thoughts?
Yeah, I think when you look at in general where we're all at with trying to provide the best opportunities for our kids moving forward, and how things play out, the part that education plays on the world stage, and it's just something that we have to constantly remind ourselves of the responsibility that we have as educators, and me being the one in front of the orchestra conducting.
Right.
It's critical that I hit the right notes and that I have the right people in the orchestra, because everyone out there is, the recipient of our work.
Right.
So I just, I hope everyone has a great start to the school year, and that, we continue to heal as a nation and go in the right direction.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a very interesting couple of months here in the nation, shall we say.
That's a conversation for Lee Elsey.
Yeah.
That will be aLee Elsey conversation. I stay out of the politics.
Do I want to have this conversation with Lee Elsey? I don't know.
I'm sure Lee is going to, be very straightforward with, and he's around it every day. He sees it.
Of course he is.
And he surrounds himself with good people.
Oh, he does.
One of my former players, Mike Pacetto, who owns Philomena's restaurant, is very close with Lee and goes on his show at times, and I get a kick out of listening to when they do their interviews.
Oh,
but
nice.
It's all good. So.
Scott, we're about to run out of time, but before we do, I want to thank you for coming down.
My pleasure. I'm
We'll be
glad
in
we could do
touch.
it, Pete. Thank you, and I owe you a visit from Luke.
All right,
So
we
I
can do
will
that.
do.
On behalf of Scott Schoonmaker, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, good night. We'll see you next time.